This week, it has been reported that the Mars 500 space mission has landed after more than 17 months. With us to discuss this fascinating experiment is our science correspondent, David Simpson. David, for those listeners who are not familiar with the Mars 500 mission, could you tell us about it?
Well, the Mars 500 mission was actually a simulated space mission in which 6 international volunteers, 3 Russians, 2 other Europeans and a Chinese man, spent 520 days in a space capsule buried beneath a car park in a suburb of Moscow.
And what exactly was the point of that?
Well, scientists wanted to study the physical and especially the psychological effects of spending that amount of time in the confinement and isolation of a space capsule, which is, of course, what a space crew would have to do if they travelled to Mars, for example.
And why is that useful?
Well, it would help in future to select the right kind of people to take part in this kind of mission. So, for example, the crew's stress levels and moods were carefully monitored and the kind of issues that created conflict.
And what did they find?
Well, the data is still being analysed. However, while it has been stressed by the ESA, the European Space Agency, that overall the 6 men got on well and worked successfully as a team, although there were issues, certainly.
For example?
Well, you have to remember that the 6 men had to deal with the boredom and isolation of 17 months together, and it seems that in these highly stressful circumstances, small jealousies can easily become a problem. For example, the men had a lot of chores and tasks which they had to share out and organise themselves, and it was felt that the workload wasn't always fair, and this caused problems. There were also jealousies over who had the most contact with their family and friends back home, and there were also certain tensions between the different nationalities.
Wouldn't it have been easier if all the men had been of the same nationality?
Possibly, but you have to remember that any future mission to Mars will almost certainly be international, so this was one of the issues that had to be looked at.
So what conclusions can be drawn about the kind of people that are suitable for such a mission in future?
Well, as I say, the data is still being analysed, but I think there are certain obvious conclusions. The crew of any such mission would have to be extremely self-sufficient to deal with the incredible boredom and isolation, and to be able to deal with all the unexpected problems that might arise during the mission. This is also an incredibly stressful situation, and so they would have to be able to stay calm under pressure, and obviously they would need to be able to get on with each other and work as a team, yet provide leadership where necessary.
Does it ever happen that crews on missions like this simply don't get on?
Well, generally the crew's frustrations tend to be directed towards the ground crew at mission control. It is common for the space crew to complain that they are not being sufficiently supported by the ground crew. But there was one case where the 2 crew members on a mission together didn't get on at all.
Oh, what happened?
Well, it was a Russian space mission in 1982, and the 2 crew members hardly spoke to each other for the whole 211-day mission, because they just got on each other's nerves, basically. They just didn't like each other.
Imagine spending 211 days alone with someone you can't stand. That certainly sounds stressful. David Simpson, thank you very much. And now to something a little